I'm gonna start now, okay? I'm gonna squeeze in and enter. Is there gonna be somebody sitting there?
No.
Oh, well maybe we'll move it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
You all agree? Okay. Give me a thumbs up. I mean, thank you. Hyundai walk. Hyundai walk. Give me your eyes. Give me your attention. Gunashchish hayadi. Shiawudinetki. Gunashchish hashika. Chade yehaniu. Hestayach. Yukakatani. Gunashchish lingadani. Anyakusani. Saka. You hot to do a sock. Gledka. Enoch fredfulmer do a sock. Chukanedi nahatsati. Hot hit I hot. Duckdane tan da chant. Hoonah kawu. Siteeyi Gheeyi kwan. Tu sigu. Now, if my wife was here today, I'd ask her, hey honey, what did I say? She usually sits here with the drum on this side. She would say, he said hi. So the song I entered in on is an example of one that we would acquire through trade. Then I got your attention, followed by, thank you all for coming, respectful people. Thank you, ancestors. Forgive me if I don't speak our language correctly. Thank you, respectful people of this land, the Tlingit, for allowing us to be here. My Tlingit name is Saha. My English name is fredfulmer. I'm from the Chukanedi clan, the iceberg or glacier house. I'm the grandchild of the Duckdane Tom. My family comes through Hoonah, and Glacier Bay is my ancestral homeland. And I'm happy to be here to share with you Tlingit Cultural, which means Tlingit way of life. So one of the things, as a representative of, or descendant of Hoonah, I welcome you to Glacier Bay. One of the things I want to mention is I have a chair over here. I've been having some sciatica act up a little bit, so you see me walk around with my cane like that. So if it starts to act up a little bit, you don't mind if I go sit down, right?
No.
Thank you. So when things like that happen to us, things that are out of our control, things that happen to us and in our community, you know, that happens quite often to all of us, right? About 10% of you? Okay, so I'm going to teach you a word, one that I use, that I live by. And I want you to repeat it after me. Yahweh.
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 And that means, and that's the way it is. So, I've had this clicker act up on me once in a while. So if it does, you might hear me say, Yahweh. So this has become to be known as our lovebirds. Just like the European, they have their coat of arms. This is our moiety. On the left, have the eagle. On the right, the raven. So, the eagle, yay, raven. So underneath the eagle and the raven, we have many different clans. Under those we have many different houses and then many different crests. Our Tlingit law and protocol hang on this system here. So the Tlingit people were matrilineal society. So we take on our clan identity and we take on our clan names through our mother's side, because they're the ones that give birth. They're the ones that keep those clans alive and going. So my mom was Chukanedi, and so was her mom and her mom and her mom. So we honor our father's people through song, dance, and in ceremony. So if you were born a raven, you would marry an eagle. If you were born an eagle, you would marry a raven. And this is how we maintain balance. Well, it's a little bit more complex than that, but you get the general idea. And I'm going, I used to always go to the screen and they're like, laptops over there. Yeah, way, huh? Okay, this is a map of Alaska. So we have the Aleut, Athabaskan, Eyak, Tlingit, Haida, Tsimshian tribes, just to name a few. There are 229 federally recognized tribes in the state of Alaska alone. There's 245 federally recognized tribes in the lower 48, or the lower 4 dozen as I call them. But today, we're going to be talking about the Hoonah Tlingit territory. Here in Glacier Bay, that's 3.3 million acres of land. One of the things I learned last year was that's about the size of Connecticut. Hey, we got something in common, that's cool, right? And so, but we also have Lituya Bay, Indian Islands, we have Point Adolphus and Hoonah proper. Just to name some of that, that's part of the Hoonah Tlingit territory, and that's what I'll be covering today. So, the Hoonah Kawu clans, under the Raven Moiety, we have the Duckdington and the Kittiwake is their crest. So I'll be referring to this a little bit after I get done with this. The Eagle Moiety, we have the Chukanati clan and the Porpoise. I'm Chukanati, but I'm wearing the brown bear today, so that's one of my crests there. The Kagwanton, we have the wolf, the Wishkiton, the shark. So while you're up at the Marjorie Glacier or Sit Plain today, there's some calving action that goes along there. We learned a little bit earlier about the Kittiwake. Kittiwake's like standing on the icebergs like that. So when the Sit Plain, Marjorie, makes a noise when it starts to calve, the Kittiwake lights off and goes, "Kaklee, kaklee, kaklee, kaklee. It's only me, it's only me, it's only me." And it lands back on that iceberg. Kaklee, 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 kaklee. It's only me, it's only me, it's only me. Lands back on that iceberg. So, when my uncle passed away, down in Hoonah at the ANV hall, there's it was a kuik, a memorial kuik that we had for him. Out on the floor, had piles and mountain high of like cases of water and pop. And then there was white sheets that was thrown over the top of it to represent Marjorie Glacier, or Sit Plain to us. So the men would stomp their feet. The Duckdington ladies would fly off and go, "Kaklee, kaklee, 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 kaklee." And they would do that a couple more times throughout that kuik or palach. I share this to show you how closely intertwined the Hoonah Tlingit are with nature. Sometimes there's a delayed reaction, eh? Okay, so this is a longhouse. This is a clan house, tribal house. Up in the back, you can see these two totem-like figures over there. You would also have two more of those up front, but they're house posts. And the reason why they're house posts is because they're notched out like that on top. And these big logs go through those house posts there, supporting the roof and adding stability to the rest of the house. So out here in the center, there will be a fire pit. That's where all the cooking is done. Heat comes from there, light comes from there. So tomorrow you're going to be going to Bartlett Cove. Kaptahini is what we call it. There's a tribal house there. It's not a functioning one like the old days like this, but it's enough that it will give you an idea of what a clan house or tribal house would be like. So this is a real important kuik or palach with 1904. In 1904, the the new government didn't understand the Tlingit people and our Tlingit way of life. And so they wanted to shut down the Kuik or potlatching. So this one, this happened in Sitka. So Sitka was hosting this potlatch that was being billed as the last potlatch. And so this one, it lasted 4 weeks. And the host group had lots of giveaways like we do in our Tlingit way. Lots of feasting, lots of protocol, Tlingit law, all those kinds of things that are going on for that much time. Well, what happened is the younger generation, it just got them all excited, and they wanted to keep doing that more, and it backfired because they're like, yeah, we like this, we want to keep doing that. So at this time in Canada, potlatches were already banned. Down in the lower 48, it was banned. And shortly after this one here, it was banned in Alaska as well. So look at this guy here on the bottom right. He's wearing a chokat blanket. One of our revered objects, just like everything else there. Now, today, we went over by Gloomy Knob. But John Wani, what we call that, and shouldn't get there. This is over here, John Wani, this is a very important place for us, Hoonah Tlingits. This is where we would harvest mountain goat and things like that. We'll make objects out of the horns and the hooves and everything like that. The meat, eat the meat and all that. But the women would scale. You see the face of that, man, that was rough. They would scale and they would go gather, they would scale the mountain there, and then they would gather all the mountain goat wool there. And it would take 2 to 3 mountain goats worth of wool to make one chokat blanket. I got to dance 2 of those in my lifetime. One that was made in 2010, around there, I danced that one. And then I danced one that was made in the 1800s. And it was heavy, it was like over 1 inch thick, heavy, and it was vibrant in color. And when I put that on, it was like a heavy mantle. But it was an honor to be able to think about all those ancestors from the 1800s that got to dance and wear that as well. So it was one of the highlights of my life. So this, the map here, over here at 13, that's where Gloomy Knob is, or John Wani. All the way up here is where we went to Marjorie Glacier or Sitclain. So 275 years ago, there was a mini ice age. And up here at Marjorie, there was the ice was about 5,000 feet thick there. And down here, number 10, as ice was moving, this is where the geologists figured that everything dammed up right there. Well, the Chukanadi, we have a story about Costine. And that story that we have about Costine talks about her responsibility, what she had in that moving and advancing of that glacier. But that glacier was building up ice and pressure, and it was moving forward, pushing on this way down here. And when that broke loose there, that dam broke loose, that those that were there, our ancestors there, they said that it was like whoosh. The ice was moving, and it was moving as fast as a dog could run. So Marjorie, or Sitclain, was on the move. And so what those that were there was everything they could do to get into their canoes and start heading out towards icy straits. And so they're paddling as hard as they can. And one of the last couple of canoes that was fleeing there, a wolf jumped in the back of that and just sat right there in the back. He was fleeing for his life too from the glacier. As they're paddling hard, they would look back and they seen the glacier was destroying everything in its path. It was destroying their villages, it was destroying their clan houses. And so as they're heading out, they're singing sad songs. They're composing sad songs because they're being pushed out of our homeland and they're working their way towards icy straits. So here's a picture of the glacier movement over on the left. The ancestors talked about when they were paddling and they're heading out in the icy straits. When the glacier reached the icy straits, the glacier started to fan out. And it kept surging and surging and surging until it touched Point Adolphus, which is on the northern tip of the northern part of Chugach Island. And there is where the wolf jumped out of the canoe and went up on the land. If you go down in the Hoonah today, in the Chukanadi, we call it our clan property, our Atu, the artifacts, there's a mask there, a wolf mask that's carved there. And that mask represents that wolf that jumped into the canoe and was fleeing for its life as well with us. Now down here in the lower right is where we came in. This is where we're going to go tomorrow. Bartlett Cove, or Siteeyi as we call it. And then we have Strawberry Island, Willoughby Island, South Marble. We went around South Marble, so that was fun. There's North Marble, and then coming up into here is Adams Inlet. So I'm going to be talking about that today, about my mom. And then we went all the way up the inlet like that. But I'll be focusing on my mom and stories around Glacier Bay, through my mom's eyes. So this is Quat Ani, Seagull Egg Island. So you can see how the cliffs are like that. And the youth, the young, the adults, they would go and gather the eggs, seagull eggs. So after a long winter, it's time for gathering seagull eggs. And so springtime, from middle of May to the middle of June, is gathering seagull eggs now. They're laying them right now. And so the Hoonahs, they had a moon, like it was called a seagull, it was egg moon. So, and that's depicting it's time to go get seagull eggs like that. Down here on the bottom right, you can see those are what the seagull eggs look like. When they would go and gather them, if there's one egg in the nest, they'll go ahead and take it. If there's 2 eggs in the nest, they'll take one. These gulls will keep laying the eggs up to a certain point, and then they'll stop. If there's 3 eggs in the nest, leave it alone, because you don't know how far developed they may be, so you just let them be. This is my mom up here in Glacier Bay. In 1998, 1999, she was talking with her brother, my Uncle Ken, and he was working for the National Park Service as an anthropologist for a special project, a Tlingit project like that. And she was telling him she wanted to come back home, and she wasn't talking about Hoonah. She was wanting to come back to the ancestral homeland here in Glacier Bay, because from today here, 88 years ago, was when her and her family was come up in here, and she was 12 years old at that time. And so she wanted to come back up in here. So this is South Marble Island right now. This was in June, and the seagulls are laying eggs. And my mom was talking about, back when she was 12 years old, they would come up South Marble Island, and the same boat would press up against her. Since she was the oldest one of the siblings, it was her job to go on up onto the rocks and gather those seagull eggs. So if you have any children that are between the ages of 8 to 12, this is where they would start to learn. This was a training ground. Because you saw that other picture with all those steep cliffs like that. So this is where they would train the younger one about the importance of gathering seagull eggs and how important that is to our diet. And so those that were there, this was a family event. They would come up there and have a good time. And some of them likened it onto an Easter egg hunt. Now my mom was talking about when they came up in here, we're heading on up. You remember North Marble Island? We went up past North Marble Island, and then we're going to go up and they were going to go up and take a right and go down Adams Inlet. When she was 12 years old, then they would do that in the same boat, but now you can't do that because it's silted in and filled in so much that only a kayak or a canoe would be able to go in there. But the National Park Service boat that Wayne Howell was in charge of, and this is a flat bottom boat with less than 10 inches of draft, and it had a landing craft bow. So we're heading up and we're going towards North Marble Island. That had a whole lot of sea lions on it. And as we're heading up, you can hear them and you can definitely smell them way before we ever got up to them. And as you're going by, you're like this. And so we got up into the, past that, went up to Adams Inlet and started to head down, took a right and going down that way. My uncle asked my mom and said, hey, when you see something that looks like a place that we went ahead and camped, let us know. And she said, okay. So we were going down the inlet for quite some time. And then my mom saw a place that looked like where they made the encampment. And so they pulled that flat bottom boat right up on the beach, dropped the landing craft out, which was really nice for everybody to get off, especially the elderly. And so my mom was going, she went off onto the land there and looking around. Then she turned and then looked up the inlet. And she said the glacier was right there. And she was talking about that glacier. And she was talking about like in that afternoon sun was so bright coming off of that it would burn their eyes. But they would go to bed in the early afternoon. And she was talking about, since she was the eldest, that they would get up, it was her job to get up with her mom, you know, like 1, 2 in the morning, somewhere in there, because it's twilight out, you know, summertime, things like that, and start the fires for the day. Now my mom was talking about, well, here's what I want to ask you. How many of you remember stonewashed jeans? You guys remember that? Holy smokes, I remember when they come around, man, with my siblings and I, we were all excited about that. My mom goes, stonewashed jeans, that's nothing. She was talking about when they're up here, in the springtime, Maytime, all through the summer, and then part of the fall before they head back home. During that whole time, it was their job, they had to do was go into the rivers and wash their clothes on the rocks throughout that whole time. She goes, stonewashed jeans, that's nothing. So we got to see some of those today, didn't we?
Yeah.
Good old puffins there. My mom was talking about, like when they were up on the beach, that her younger brother, she said when they were out there, when they're out on the beach, man, he's chasing them around. He's trying to catch them. Oh, he wants them. Because he thought that those orange beaks was those pieces of orange fruit that he had grown to love. And she was talking about watching him chase them around. She goes, that was cute. So, up in Adams Inlet, up in the area, up in that way, there used to be a big lagoon. And this is where the seals would be. And this is where we'd go harvest them. And so, what happens is that on the ends of the lagoon that way, they would make a rifle mounts, and they're laying down on the beach. And so one of the hunters will light off around from that side there. The seal turn and look where that sound come from. The back of the head is open sights to the other hunter, shoot it, hit it in the back of the head, and when he did, it would float. If he hit it anywhere else, it would sink. I listened to a marine biologist talk about one time, talking about, and then he said, if all you ate was seal meat, seal fat, and seal oil, that you can maintain a healthy lifestyle. And I've had all three of them, and boy, is it good. We would also get halibut and all the salmons, and they would get cockles and clams, sea cucumber. They would get crab, octopus. They would go ahead and get seaweeds and kelp. Go up on the beach. They would go ahead and get all the foods from the beach right there like that when the tides come down. They would get kook, wild rice, coons, wild potatoes. They would get the strawberries, blueberries, salmon berries, legume berries, elderberries, soapberries. They would go up and this time of the year get the tips from spruce tips and other plant-like foliage from the tips from the Devil's Club, things like that. And then they would also go up and get mushrooms and whatever like that. They would get deer, they would harvest, they would get mountain goat, moose. So, my uncle, they called Glacier Bay, they said it's skeek claim, the big dish. When the tide is out, the table is set. And my uncle said only a lazy person would starve in Glacier Bay. So, Glacier Bay, this was our Costco's. This was our Albertsons and Safeway. Now, my mom, she was young, and they like to have fun. So she was talking about how they went ahead and they built a toilet about this high on the beach like that with flat rock. So she was talking to her brother and saying, hey, when you're going around and trying to find where those rifle mounts are, you remember that with the toilet that we built? Can you look for that tube and see if it had survived all these years? And he said, yeah, sure. And so they went around looking, and that was all they found. So, this is special to me right here. My mom was talking about everybody, all the people, all the family that was there, the men folk, women folk, they're out gathering food. And she was there with her mom and her siblings. Up in the mountains, the wolf pack was on the move. Now, last year I learned that there's 5 wolf packs in Glacier Bay, and one of them is still up in Adams Inlet. And my mom was talking about when that wolf pack was coming down, you could hear them coming down. Mom said, clock day, hurry up, get to the tent. So my mom was talking about that. She said since she was the oldest one, she grabbed her younger brother's hand, and they're running, making their way to the tent. She goes, she could still remember seeing his little legs running as fast as they can. And I got a chuckle out of that because she was like 4'9". So they get into the tent. I'm guessing like an army tent like that. They get in the tent, and their mom goes, Grandma says, shh, be quiet, be still. And so the wolf pack come down, crisscrossing this way, making their way through encampment, howling as they go. They made it and headed on down. And she says her little brothers, they didn't make a sound. They didn't move. She goes, they were good little boys, unlike boys of today. Well, think about it. My mom, there's another story I don't have time to say, but it's about a brown bear encounter when she was 4 years old. So the danger was a part of their life like that. My mom was talking about as she grew older and going into her adult life, that she would look up in the mountains and she goes, I can still hear those wolves howling. So, yes, the Hoonah Tlingit and Tlingit people in general went through some tough times. Language was pushed down. We were punished for speaking our language. We couldn't do our Kuik or Tlingit Kusi way of life like that. The artwork took a hit. Everything that we did in life was it was a challenging, tough time. And it's like taking that and putting it in a Benwood box, pushing it down and locking it up that way. That happened.
And what years were that in?
Oh, I'll answer that afterwards, okay? So if you don't mind. And then, but now there's a revitalization. The language is flourishing. You have to graduate, in order to graduate high school now, you have to have at least 1 year of Tlingit language. The Kuik, we're able to practice our potlatch and our Kuik like that. The artwork on mediums, on all mediums, on every level, is flourishing all over the place in Hoonah, Xuna, Skagway, Ketchikan, any of these places that you go like that. And even we have a longhouse, a clan house that we have over in Bartlett Cove, which you can go on a hike and go by tomorrow like that. I've seen great young kids in grades of all grades come into the clan house for culture camps. Last year I seen the canoe journey people come there as well. So things are flourishing and things are coming back and get revitalized. George Davis wrote a song, and the song that he composed is about that box of wisdom is being opened up again. So I want to sing the song for you. Suhe de shugak tutana, Suhe de shugak tutanya ya kuge, Ge da jigan, Haskaudigi, hey 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 hey. Tana, hey, the sugar, ton, ya, cricket, potato, jugana, hasta, hey, 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 so in 2000, my siblings and I got to come up here, Glacier Bay, come up here with my mom, come up here and things that she would tell us about like that. That was special time for us, special time, because none of us knew that my mom was going to pass away in 2004. It warms my heart to be able to come up in these waters and be up here where the ancestors were, be up here where my mom was at, my aunties, uncles, and grandparents like that. It makes me feel warm to be able to wear my uncle's vest. It was handed to me when he passed away, true Canadian vest. It's an honor for me to be wearing this vest today. There is no word for goodbye in Tlingit. So what I want to teach you is I'm going to teach you what we do say. Repeat after me. Yek kwasatin
Yek kwasatin
satsu.
satsu.
Yek kwasatin satsu.
Yek kwasatin
And
satsu.
that means I'll see you later. Now before I go, what I want to do is I want to exit on a song. It's a true Canadian song, true Canadian exit song. When you get out here in the icy straits and some of the waters there, it gets real rough. This song is about the changing of tides. And so I want to sing that for you, an exit, and I'm glad that we're here. I hope you enjoyed the programs, presentations that we had been sharing here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and exit. Yahweh, Yahweh, hey, 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 Yahweh, Yahweh, hey, 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 Yahweh, Yahweh, hey, 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 Yahweh, Yahweh, hey, hey, Yahweh, Yahweh, hey, 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 Hooja, Hooja, Hui. Yo. All right, thank you.